All right. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to join us today on the 10 key steps to taking control of your inventory with Panatrack, hosted by Turnkey. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us. I'm Alex Rode with Panatrack. I'm one of our solution consultants here on the team. And today we're going to talk through these 10 steps, 10 key elements you can start looking at to make sure you're getting the most out of Dynamics and you're really, truly managing your inventory. As we go through today's session, please, if you have questions, feel free to drop them into the chat there. We'll try to answer those at the end of the session. If not, we'll make sure that someone from the Turnkey side reaches out to you with that information. Of course, this is being recorded, so if you need to jump off for any reason, the Turnkey team will make sure you have a copy of that. That being said, let's get moving ahead. What you see here, this is going to be our 10 steps. We're looking at how we can leverage GP. We can make our receiving count and start actually tracking our inventory. We'll go through all of these one by one. There's going to be a couple that jump out to you personally. You're going to think to yourself, okay, our team needs that, Alex. Why don't you tell me a little bit more? Well, I don't want to take all of your time this afternoon. We'll try to cover it in our session here. If you have questions at the end, you're welcome to contact the Turnkey team. They can put you in touch with Panatrack here. We'll be happy to answer all of your inventory questions as we move forward. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is leveraging Dynamics GP. Dynamics GP can act as a very robust inventory management system for customers who have anything from simple to pretty complex requirements. With Dynamics GP, you already have everything set up for your accounting side, for your inventory items, and we're looking for an opportunity to leverage what's already set up within Dynamics. Your system of record here can already leverage high-end functionality such as inventory control with multi-bin setup. We have simple analysis and reporting tools so we can improve our picking accuracy. We can utilize that multi-bin tracking. And all of the functionality that you've seen within Dynamics GP for managing your inventory works well with the other features, everything from sales order processing to your invoicing and general ledger. This can be used to create a pull-based lean inventory system. Min and max levels can be set for specific items. We can manage all of that right in Microsoft Dynamics GP through preset desktop reminders. You already have everything in your host database, but you need to have accurate inventory information to drive that home, to really make sure we're tracking that. So using a system, whether it's pens and pencils, whiteboards and Excel sheets, or what we prefer you seeing, a barcode scanning computer, the goal is to put the right information into GP so you can get the right information out of it. It's only as good as what we give it. So making sure that you can leverage accurate inventory information, real-time data, all of that is going to play a huge role in leveraging Dynamics GP. The display you see on screen right now, this is an example of how the Panatrack application interacts with Dynamics. It's simplified a little bit, but we capture all of our transactions on the mobile computers. And you're going to see a few of those come up on our screen as we go through some transactions today. We feed those back through the Panatrack portal, and utilizing native Dynamics GP functionality, we create and update transactions and records in Dynamics in real time. Panatrack and solutions that leverage barcoding are allowing your team to capture transactions when and where they occur. Everything from replenishment purchase orders automatically being generated based on our consumption or our sales to driving manufacturing and sales orders is going to be an important factor in managing your inventory appropriately. The first step that we always like to encourage people to think about is receiving and making receiving count. Now, whether you're receiving with that stack of papers on the left where it gets handed off from one person at the dock with all sorts of scribbles to another, and eventually someone sits there and they hand type into GP, or you want to start looking at leveraging a system of a barcode scanner, Panatrack wants to make sure and wants to encourage you to capture every bit of inventory that comes in at the purchase order receiving stage. This is when it comes in, and this is when we want to begin tracking it. With a system like Panatrack or other barcode application, you can see on the screen right here just how easy it is for my user to open the PO receiving transaction and receive that purchase order right then and there as they go through things. So very quickly here, we'll select a PO that we've got out there, and we're going to go ahead and begin receiving that inventory transaction. Rather than marking these things off on the sheets of paper like you see on the screen, Panatrack lets you scan barcodes. We'll even give you destination put-away bins based on your Dynamics GP setup. Again, we're leveraging what already exists in Dynamics GP, that multi-bin capability, and we're allowing your team to receive transactions on the fly. Doing this on paper means a whole lot of checking things off, scratching things out, and hoping that somebody entered in data properly. With Panatrack, we monitor and maintain these every step of the way, giving users easy lookup lists like you see here, and even indicating the number of items that are expected to be received before that user can move on. We can select from a Panatrack lookup list and enter in our quantities. We can do all of this with simple barcode scanning to make life as easy as possible, validating everything against Dynamics GP each step of the way. Our user in this situation is being given default put-away bins, and you can see as we've gone through our transactions, we've only got a few of our items left to receive. Those put-away bins, again, pulled from Dynamics to make sure that your users get the right information. When we select our last item from our lookup list, our classic 128 SD RAM, Panatrack gives the user a review screen, easy to see color indicators, again, making it as easy as possible to track that inventory the moment it arrives in your door. And we hit submit. Panatrack creates that transaction and creates that receipt in Dynamics GP in real time. Now we'll come back and we'll talk about what that created in a few moments. But an important step in managing your inventory is labeling. If you're going to use a system like Panatrack to make your life that much easier, barcoding is another important step. Now with Panatrack and other systems, you can print inventory labels when and where that inventory arrives at the dock. Panatrack makes it as easy as possible by simply letting your user on that PO receipt transaction we just conducted print inventory labels with all sorts of different information on them. Whether it's got serial and lot numbers, which of course Panatrack is supporting, that's part of leveraging Dynamics GP. Whether you've got a print of manufacturing date or maybe even a receiving date on a label, Panatrack allows your team to print that inventory when and where it's required. Once inventory is labeled, it becomes far easier for your users to begin tracking that inventory, moving it through the facility, again, whether that's going to be by hand or whether that's going to be within a system like Panatrack. Putting barcodes on products is an important step to tracking that inventory. Additionally, you have barcodes on products. Whether it's a UPC like you see on the back of your water bottle, whether it's a barcode for a serial number like you might see on your television when you buy it at Best Buy, those barcodes already exist on many products, and your vendors and manufacturers might be putting them on there already. With Panatrack, we want to make sure that you can use those barcodes to scan information. And we do that leveraging Microsoft Dynamics GP. Of course, we're always going to come back to that first key step. Have a system of record, have a single source of truth, and leverage that to the best of your abilities. With Panatrack, we can use the existing barcodes and the existing labels on products, whether they're at all related to your GP item numbers or not, utilizing the Dynamics GP manufacturer's item number maintenance window. Now, I won't get too much into those details, but sufficient to say if I scan the barcode on the water bottle I have in front of my desk, I can link that to one of my GP items. Ideally, it would be linked to my GP item water bottle. And as users go through, we're now leveraging barcodes that already exist, saving us the effort and requirement of having somebody print and label inventory. Our next step is to know the flow, right? Know the workflow. How is your inventory moving through your facility? And Panatrack makes that as easy as possible using kind of our standard work. Now, I'll go through these. I'll tell you a little bit about each solution, but it's important to note that Panatrack has been designed to support everybody's different needs. Whether you are in the manufacturing business, in the projects business, in the medical field, wherever it is, Panatrack has solutions and solution stacks that will meet your team's needs. Working through them quickly, we look at our stock room solution. I need to bring my inventory in. I need to manage my inventory, whether that's add and remove adjustments, inventory stock counts, site transfers, inventory consumptions, anything like that. Panatrack Stockroom Solution supports that the moment you install. Following that, we have our Projects and Jobs solution. This is aimed at those companies who need to move inventory and track consumption and transfers from the facility to jobs, to projects, to work sites. And again, leveraging everything that you already have in Dynamics GP. And if you're using other ISVs alongside that, we probably have talked to them in the past. Then we get into our distribution. One of the most popular solutions for, one of the most popular fields looking at barcoding solutions is somebody who needs to distribute inventory, get that product out to the clients. And we do that by giving the team the ability to capture that inventory again the moment it arrives, move that through our facilities, putaways, transfers, stock counts, replenishments and consumptions. We all know somebody or some warehouse where a forklift's knocked into a shelf and broken some product. With Panatrack, we can remove that right on the scanners. What's important about our distribution solution is we're adding on that order fulfillment application. That's the pick and pack capabilities, making sure that when somebody orders a product from our team, they get what they ordered. They don't get somebody else's shipment. They don't get, oh, they got the large shirt because we thought it was on the shelf that was supposed to be the extra larges. No. With Panatrack and with our order fulfillment capabilities, we pick and pack that inventory, verifying things every step of the way. In addition to our distribution solution, we have our manufacturing capabilities as part of this. Panatrack integrates with all sorts of different manufacturing requirements, whether that's the assembly transaction in GP, whether that's Dynamics GP manufacturing, something like Vicinity or even Horizons manufacturing. All of those different components can be used alongside the Panatrack or GP application. Not only do we capture all of your inventory coming in, moving about, and counting it, but we also give your teams the ability to issue inventory to manufacturing transactions. We've designed an assembly work order capability that leverages what's already in Dynamics, but extends that to let your team schedule assembly work orders. That's something we don't have time to get into on a webinar like this, but it is something we want to open up to your teams. If you'd like to talk about assembly work orders, take a look at our website, our YouTube channel, give us a shout. We'll be happy to set you up for a one-on-one demonstration. We also offer that order fulfillment capability right alongside manufacturing, or any other transactions for that matter. We know that just because you're building product doesn't mean that it's just going to get consumed or issued out on jobs. It might need to go out to our customers. And so with Panatrack's pick and pack functionality as part of our order fulfillment transactions, your users are now validating transactions every step of the way. When they're issuing inventory, we're making sure they're issuing the right ones. When we're recording our finished goods, we make sure we get the right information, we print the right inventory labels, and when we pull that off the shelf to send out to our customers, or your customers, we now know that the correct items were pulled, and Panatrack keeps records of all of that, which again, we'll get into in a few moments. And additionally, we offer our hub and spoke inventory management platform. And this can go right alongside our manufacturing or our jobs and projects, but it utilizes something else that Panatrack has added to Dynamics GP, and that's an enhanced directed transfer infrastructure. This enhanced directed transfer infrastructure turns Dynamics GP and Panatrack from an embedded warehouse management solution that's very powerful to a full warehouse management application that can really take your needs and take your inventory tracking to the next level. With Panatrack's directed transfer capabilities, we've added to our pick and pack and our consumption and our assembly by giving users the ability to conduct a directed transfer request, undertake a transfer pick where we make sure the correct items are being moved out of one facility and into another. We can pack that transfer order, and then we can receive that transfer order at the dock of our spoke location. This means that site transfers are no longer handwritten wish lists, emailed pick sheets that hopefully somebody reads properly. Panatrack turns the transfer infrastructure from something passive to something active that allows your users on the floor to make sure the correct items are moving when and to where we need them on demand. Dynamics GP, Microsoft's introduced an in-transit infrastructure, which works all right within GP. But to take that to the next step, utilizing the Panatrack or GP directed transfer infrastructure, now that's going to allow your team true granular inventory control, not just at one facility, but at any facility you need to maintain. Again, something we're more than happy to walk through and discuss whenever your team is ready to talk about it. All right, next up on our list is making it easy. And making it easy might sound silly. I thought about throwing in some music puns here. But with Panatrack, we know that for your team to properly take control of your inventory, it not only needs to be easy for management to maintain and see what's going on, but it needs to be easy for the users to pick it up. I can't tell you how many people we've talked to and they go, oh man, this is a great solution, but Vern in the warehouse is going to hate this. He's not going to like the idea that we have, we're looking at barcoding, we're looking at computers in the warehouse. He likes his pens and pencils. I always tell him, we'll bring Vern on. Let's do a demonstration with him. And we do that because with Panatrack especially, we've made the ability to conduct your transactions very, very easy. This happens all the time. Somebody in the warehouse is afraid of change. But if you make that change easy by giving them a tool that lets them simply start scanning barcodes to gather information, well, now it's a lot easier to get them to buy on. We can narrow things down, our item and our site. We can see our total on-hand and available inventory quantities for this particular transaction. You're seeing this happen in real time on the Panatrack device. If we narrow it down by bin, I can now see not only my on-hand and available quantities in my warehouse, but I can see the on-hand and available quantities in a very particular bin location. Every bit of Panatrack, showing our manufacturer item numbers, those are our alternate barcodes. Every part of the Panatrack application here is designed to be as easy as possible for your users, whether they've been in your warehouse for 20 minutes or they've been in your warehouse for 25 years. They can pick this up and they can begin undertaking inventory transactions in real time. Whether we're going into our fulfill order transaction to pick our sales orders. In this sort of situation where our user is given an actual pick list that says here's exactly what's required for the sales order. A review screen that shows us everything that was part of that order. Panatrack makes it easy for users to navigate that whenever they need to. Validating our transactions, scanning the item to make sure it's the right one. That's a big step of it. We want to know that when a user is undertaking transactions, they're getting everything right every step of the way. When a user picks items, when a user goes through a Panatrack transaction and tries to pick an incorrect item, they get a warning message. You're seeing that warning message here. It says this is not the correct item to pick. Again, this is making sure that everything is validating against GP. When a customer opens a package from your company, we want that customer to know, and we want to know that they're getting exactly what they ordered, efficiently, effectively, and that nothing's wrong with it. It's not the wrong color. It's not the wrong size. We're not relying on Bob in the back of the warehouse to know where everything is by feel and smell. No, we're validating that every step of the way. User gets a validation screen and they hit submit. That updates our order in GP. That's how easy it is for a user to pick a sales order on the Panatrack device. And if you make it easy, they're going to use it, and you're going to see accurate inventory develop very, very quickly in your facilities. Our next key step here is going to be setting goals. Setting these goals. Step number 6 is an important part of this. These goals for your team may be as simple as a once per quarter validation of your fastest moving inventory. Maybe we're looking at fixed asset tracking and we need to do that. Maybe we're looking to reduce our missed shipments and we say our goal is going to be 5% per month, 5% per quarter. That's fine. But the more viability you have in your goals and the better control of the items in your facilities, the leaner and more efficient your business can run. Hoping that automated counts were correct, trying to decipher handwriting while you're going through data entry, that can lead to errors, and those only grow as time moves on. When it comes to tracking your serialized inventory, tracking your lot tracked inventory, making sure we're looking at a first in, first out sort of application, it can be done on paper, but it's impossible to manage what you cannot effectively identify. And that's what's important to know. Using a system, barcodes are what we prefer, is making sure that your team now knows where everything is, when it came in, when it moved. That validation makes sure you can effectively manage your inventory and keep everything on task, on time, and on target. Validating our data, validating our transactions. This is another key step. Now, right now, your validation process is probably something like piece of paper gets written on in the warehouse, gets handed off. Back, in the back office, that gets handed off to a clerk or someone else, and they sit there and they hand key all of that data into Dynamics GP. On the left side of our screen, you see a receiving transaction entry. That's actually for the one we just completed earlier in our demonstration here. You can see 10/21/2020. Panatrack created that transaction in Dynamics in real time. We validated every step of the way. You saw on my order fulfillment transaction, when I tried to scan the wrong item, when my user picked the wrong item off the shelf, that they got a warning message. That warning message told them this isn't the correct item to pick. Let's show you that one more time. We're validating this. The error message you see stopping your user from picking the wrong item prevents this young lady here on the screen from being pretty upset that what she got is not what she ordered. And I know that all of us have been on the receiving end of one of those shipments at some point in our lives. Less and less as more teams start looking at barcoding, looking at this capability. And with Panatrack, we make sure we validate those transactions. You see in the top right corner, we're showing my receiving transaction history. I told you that Dynamics will always be the single source of truth, and that's going to be true for Panatrack. We do keep a record of our transactions in the Panatrack portal. That's our online dashboard. That's where you can handle your configurations, your user setup, all of that information. But you can see there, it actually shows my users a record of everything that was accomplished as part of the Panatrack transaction. What we created in Dynamics GP is our host data. What we kept there is a carbon copy of what was passed through. But validating our data when it feeds into Dynamics using the eConnect platform makes sure that not only are we not consuming GP user licenses for your team, but it makes sure that we're following all of those GP business rules as users go through transactions. And that's going to be our point number 7, making sure we're validating our data, we're validating our transactions, and we're keeping everything up to date in real time. No worries about synchronizing. No worries about trying to make two systems talk to each other and butt heads until the end of the day when, well, maybe they'll get along nicely. On to my personal favorite on the list here is the right tools. The most efficient worker entering data on a computer may make a mistake once in every 300 keystrokes or so. A barcode scanner, well, that's experiencing an error one in every, I believe it's about 2.8 million scans. What that means is that I can look at a shelf of parts. It's happened to all of us at the store. I looked at the shelf, I looked at what I was grabbing, and somehow I still grabbed the wrong one. Just like you saw in our scanner, Panatrack prevents that. We make sure that we're doing and validating everything. If it's captured on a scanner on the warehouse floor, we know it's validated against Dynamics and GP. All of these keys, they build on each other. They make sure that we can go there. Panatrack offers best-in-class, best-of-breed barcode scanning devices from many different companies in many different form factors. You can see just a small selection of what we offer here on the screen. These all connect over a wireless network. They allow you to capture transactions in real time. Some of these can even support 4G networks if you need to be capturing transactions at remote job sites, treating trucks and vans as inventory locations. Panatrack can allow you to capture those transactions anywhere in the world. We do all of that with best-in-class devices, embedded barcode scanners, rugged durability, the latest and greatest of the Android operating systems meant for enterprise use. Companies like Zebra, like Honeywell, have been making these devices in all sorts of different iterations for ages. You've seen them, the big, heavy pistol grip bricks getting lugged around Walmarts and Targets before. Now they've switched to something like those two devices in the middle, nice and pocket-friendly and easy with a touch screen. Panatrack can offer you all sorts of advice and some of the best pricing possible on barcode scanning devices to make sure your team can take to the warehouse floor in style and in functionality. Designing for growth. When you start to look at your inventory needs, sit back and decide, okay, what do we need right now, but what are we going to need in the future? It's one thing to go with 10 or 15 orders a day. When you start doing that effectively, you start building customer satisfaction, building repeat business. Maybe it's online e-commerce. Maybe you're selling to big box stores. Maybe you're installing an HVAC. The better you do, the more you're going to grow. And making sure that you select not only solutions, but workflows that are designed to allow your team to grow is going to put you on the best path to success possible. Panatrack has been designed to be infinitely scalable. Some of our customers start with one or two single devices operating in just a stockroom sort of function like we saw in that workflow earlier. As they do that, they grow. They add more and they bring it on. And then all of a sudden they're running 15, 25, 50 scanners across 6 or 7 or 10 locations. We've designed our application to scale with your team. And Dynamics GP and your partner, Turnkey, is going to be able to help you grow from wherever you start all the way on up. And making sure that your solution and your plans are in line with that are going to be very important. It's much easier to say we're going to need to look at multi-bin tracking when you have 100 SKUs than it is to get to 1,200 SKUs and realize, man, we really should have turned on multi-bins a long time ago. Now, of course, we can still do that. Turnkey can help you. Panatrack can help you. But knowing what your plan is and knowing that you're setting your team up for efficient and effective growth is going to be a very important step in leveraging the the Dynamics GP application, Dynamics GP ERP, and something like the Panatrack or GP application is going to put you on that path to success. And we're moving pretty quickly through our slides here. I think I'm actually coming up on our number 10 point. So I want to open the floor up again. Just any questions you guys have, any thoughts you may want to talk about, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Send them in that way, and Panatrack would be thrilled to answer those to the best of our abilities and give you some information. Otherwise, we'll get through our tip number 10, and then we'll talk a little bit, show you just a little bit about the Panatrack scanners themselves, and we'll talk about that. All right. So our next tip, number 10, don't stop improving. Just because you've mastered receiving on barcode scanners or with purchase orders, make sure that your team is continually striving for that. You may not have a full-time CI individual working for you, but you can make it a company goal to always strive for better, always strive for more information, always strive to track your inventory and to be that much more accurate. Right now, companies who are shipping entirely by hand are happy to be shipping somewhere around 85 to 90% accurate, based on the last study I checked. Panatrack customers are seeing their accuracy on order fulfillment alone skyrocket because they're not stopping improving. They're always tracking that. They're always following those barcodes and those steps to make sure their inventory is going to be managed effectively. Now, we did have a great question come in here. What's the best way for us to get multi-bin set up? And that's to use Dynamics GP and to leverage the team at your partner firm. Turnkey here can help you go into Dynamics GP, configure multi-bins, set up things like a default receiving bin, a default put-away bin, a default sales order fulfillment bin. All of that capability resides in GP right now. Talk to Turnkey. They're going to help you get that going. And as soon as you're talking about multi-bins, we'll get you set up for a Panatrack demonstration. We'll talk through all of those questions you may have. All right, so we've hit our top 10 key points here. I guess maybe next time I need to make it a top 20 key points. But we'll get that in the next go-round. One thing I'd like to talk about is a little bit about the Panatrack product itself. And for that, I'm going to pull over back onto our screen our Panatrack device. And it looks like we've got another excellent question here. How do we start barcoding products? Do I have to print barcodes? Well, great question there. Like I mentioned, if you have barcodes on your products, whether that's the UPC that you scan when you bought a box of cereal from the grocery store, or your vendor's shipping you products and in the master case there's a barcode on the outside, as long as that's a barcode that's unique to the product, we can leverage that alongside something like Panatrack or GP and Dynamics to link existing barcodes to our GP items. That doesn't have to be, you don't have to reinvent the wheel if you've already got a barcode on it. If you need to print barcode labels, Panatrack can print them from our purchase order receiving transaction among pretty much all our other transactions. We can also print labels on demand using the Panatrack label printing modules. We leverage the nice label capabilities there, and that allows your team to print inventory labels from their mobile computers, from desktops, trigger those label prints however you need to make sure that's labeled properly. Now, we saw a couple of our transactions on the Panatrack screen as we were going through our presentation here. Panatrack has all sorts of transactions, from our inventory, purchase order, receiving and tracking, fixed asset tracking, manufacturing transactions, including an integration with the quick MO capability in Dynamics. That's something Panatrack offers as part of our manufacturing solution. You can begin using that as soon as the Panatrack implementation is complete. We looked at our ability to do purchase order receipts. We looked at our ability to do sales order fulfillments. Panatrack can also undertake those inventory transactions that your team probably dreads the most. Things like stock counts, where your stock count process is probably a lot like printing out a ream of paper and sending your team out there with the pens and pencils to begin filling it out, eventually coming back at the end of the day and somebody sitting there and just hammering away at the keyboard trying to get that in. Those days are past with Panatrack. With Panatrack, I can undertake a stock count that's been configured in GP, I can tell my system what site location I'm counting that inventory in. If you're using bin locations, we can tell the system which bin location I'm tracking that inventory in. And then we can send our users out to undertake a stock count. This is a blind count. We can also enable the ability for the user to see what they should expect. Users can walk up to barcodes, scan the product, and enter in a count for their quantity, updating GP instantly. We take all of the need to write it down on paper and decipher handwriting, and we give users that list of items to be counted right on the Panatrack device. Our users can go through and begin entering in quantities. When they scan a barcode, Panatrack makes sure we know what item is it they counted. If a user tries to count a barcode twice, they're going to get a warning message. Just like that, we're validating that this has already been counted, but we'll give you the ability to add that to the count. So we can add a count of 500. Our review screen here shows us we have 2 items that we haven't yet counted. We have 3 items that we have counted. Panatrack feeds all of that into Dynamics, and I'm sorry, I'm going to make you look at GP for just a moment here. Let's get GP pulled back over for you. Okay, please don't stop paying attention entirely. I know we didn't want to see GP here right now, but we can go in and we actually update that stock count in real time. So we're going to leave this window open right here, and we're going to add a count to one of our items. So our item that has a count of 0 there, I'm going to scan the barcode, and I'm going to just enter a count of 632. Panatrack, when we open this count back up here, has increased our quantity to 632. Now, of course, I'm just throwing numbers at the wall and seeing what sticks, but you can see that Panatrack is updating GP in real time. We're doing all of that immediately on the Panatrack devices. We make transactions easy and accessible to users, whether they're there for a day, whether they've been there for 10 years. They can pick up a Panatrack device. They can do a purchase order receipt. They can undertake an inventory put-away transaction, letting them move inventory from the receiving dock location out to wherever it needs to be. Whether that's pickles or comparison strips, we do all of that in real time on the Panatrack devices. Folks, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to join Panatrack, and a big thank you to the Turnkey team for hosting us today for this web session. If you have questions, if you have thoughts, anything you'd like to talk about the Panatrack application, please reach out to my colleague, Lori Pauly. You can get a hold of us, info@panatrack.com, nice and easy. You can go to our website, panatrack.com. Give us a shout. We are here to make sure that your team gets the most out of Dynamics GP and begins tracking your inventory in real time and effectively with tools you already have at your disposal. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time, Zach and the whole Turnkey team. Thank you for putting this together, letting us come in and talk to your wonderful customer group. And folks, we look forward to speaking with you soon in the future, getting you up to speed on Panatrack. Thank you.